This is J. Krishnamurti's first public discussion in Saanen, 1974.
This is not a talk by me. I've done 7 talks, so that's enough. But this is supposed to be a discussion. The word discussion means, I just looked it up in dictionary, through argument, find what is true. And a dialogue is a conversation of people who are seriously interested in understanding certain problems. And dialecticism is the discovery or the examination through opinion of what is true. And opinion means judgment based on a belief, a prejudice, or on a preconceived idea. So it's none of these what we are going to do. Neither discussion. The root meaning of that mean is to shake. Nor a dialogue. Nor an opinion, or offering opinions and investigating those opinions to find out if they have any value. But what we are trying to do in these, I don't know what it's called, dialogues or discussions or all that, what we are trying to do is to expose certain problems which one may have and understand those problems by looking at them, not offering an opinion, a judgment, and your criticisms, but exposing them. In the very exposure, one discovers what is the truth, what is the meaning. That is, we may have many problems, human problems, not technological problems, because the speaker couldn't possibly deal with those. Human problems. Well, such as violence, sorrow, relationship, and so on. And it's like talking over together with friends who are serious, not casual friends, who want to find an answer, who want to discover an approach or through which the thing is resolved, not carry on day after day, day after day. That is the meaning of our gathering here for the next 5 mornings, which is to converse together amicably, with care, with sense of real affection, so that we understand the problem, or many problems, and go beyond them, not carry them for next year or for the next day. So, what shall we together talk over this morning? I understand. One of the questions is, there must be total understanding and to go beyond anything. And our understanding is only partial. How is a mind that is always looking or thinking partially to understand totally? That's one question. Any others? Would you talk about or talk over together the question of education?
How can one end thought completely? How does one have to observe thought to end it completely and not just...
How is thought to end completely without conflict? Everyone? You want to, questioner says, please talk over relationship. Huh? Thought and feeling. And
the great part always paid for the taxes, indirect and direct taxes, goes for the machinery of war. Can we look at this?
look at
Look at the fact that everyone contributes to the machinery of war.
everyone contributes to the horror of war.
De la peur, de la pensée.
Qu'est-ce que je n'ai pas tout à fait compris.
J'aimerais que vous parliez de la peur.
Ah, talk about fear. Now, wait a minute. We've asked partial understanding and how is one, without conflict, without effort, come to total understanding. And would you talk about education? Fear. And the ending of thought totally without conflict. And feeling and thought and their place in the mind. Just a minute. These are all the questions that have been put so far. Now, can we discuss or talk over together a question that will include all these. Can we put a question that will cover most of the questions that have been put this morning? Can we do that? Including? Oh no. How is a mind that only sees the part and not the whole? A mind that is educated to war. A mind that sees the necessity of thought and its activities and movements coming to an end without effort. And a mind that has been so utterly, wrongly educated, is there a means of a different kind of education and thought and feeling? Right? Now, which question or which one of these questions could we ask so that it will give us a comprehensive understanding of all that, of all the questions that have been put so far?
From partial understanding to a total understanding?
That's one of the questions.
But wouldn't that include?
I'm wondering, would that also include fear, war, and the ending of thought, and its recognizable feelings? Would all that include in the understanding or investigation or examination of the total understanding? I think it would, wouldn't it? Right? No?
Maybe to know how to observe oneself inwardly would solve all.
Would that including how to observe, what is the process of observation, both inwardly and outwardly? I think it would. That one question I'm going to include into it. Right? Will you accept that? Why is a mind accepts war with all its horrors and violence and brutality, and at the same time talks about peace? Why is a mind that is afraid and so on? Now, these are the various things: education, fear, observation, the ending of thought, feeling and thought. All these are factors of the mind, right? Mind, heart, the brain, and so on, which is the mind. Why is the mind so fragmented? You understand, sir? Why is an artist who is sensitive, supposed to be, concerned with beauty, perception, sensitivity, and seeing something other than the mere object? Why is such a mind lives a shoddy life which is fragmentation, which is seeing perhaps the whole and incapable of seeing total action in life. Parlez en français. No, madam, we are just examining. The lady says it's always in relation to oneself. Look, I have all these problems as a human being. Violence, war, partial understanding, education which is really no education at all. I have never been able to observe very clearly. And I also see the necessity of ending thought, because I understand thought is the past and so on. And I understand sometimes a partial understanding, and it is never complete. So it is all fragmented, isn't it? Right, sir? Now, why is the mind fragmented, broken up? Examine your own mind, your own life. Why is it that in your daily life there is this conflict of the opposites, right? Conflict of duality. Conflict which comes about through contradiction. I understand 1 minute, and the next minute I don't understand it at all. I see something very clearly for 10 minutes, and the rest of the day I don't see anything at all. Why is the mind, I'm just asking, why is your mind broken up? It all depends on our laziness, because we are indolent. Is that so? I may be very active, full of energy, not lazy, but yet I am fragmented. Beg pardon? Mind is the energy of God. If one could look up to that God, will be whole. Is that it? Huh? God is one. God is one. God is one, whole, complete. And if I could invite that whole and complete in me, I will lose my fragmentation. Is that it? Emerge into it, be swallowed up by it, be covered by it, and all the rest of it. How do you know God is whole? No, that is not serious. You're not talking seriously when you say, I know. And no, your experience has no validity. No, madam, you don't listen. Your experience may be a wish fulfillment, and therefore it has no validity. Any man who says, I have experienced God who is whole, must be distrusted. Because he has been educated, or belief in God, or is frightened of living and invents a God. and according to that invention, he experiences. That has no validity.
Are you saying that everyone, every serious man who says something like that is somehow distrusted? Don't you think there are serious people?
What, sir?
Don't you think there have been maybe serious people in this world who said this?
I can't hear, Southern. Huh? Are there not serious people who have said this? That God is whole and they have experienced God. Is that it? More or less. I wonder what you call being serious. Look, sir. An insane person can be very serious. A neurotic person can be very, very, very serious. A man who is convinced about his experience according to his background can be very, very serious. But a man who is free of all belief, who is free of his conditioning, has dropped his belief in all forms of gods and all the rest of it, such a man is really a free man and therefore a serious man. Now, sir, let's come back to it. Why is our mind so broken up, contradictory, dividing itself against itself? Why? What is the cause of it? Not what to do about it. If I know why my mind is broken up, fragmented, contradictory, saying one thing, doing another, thinking something else, acting in another direction, why is your mind like that? It is the result of our culture, the culture in which we live, whether that culture is in India, Russia, or in Europe, and so on. Our education, our culture, our thinking divides. Why? The culture is what we have created. Right? My grandfathers, past generations, and the present generations have created this culture which divides, breaks up life into fragments. Business, artists, scientists, the religious, the quack, the insane, all that. I am asking you, what is the cause of it, behind it, behind the culture? Do examine it. Look, go into yourself, please. Please bear in mind that we are not offering opinions. I don't know why there's so much noise this morning. Look, I seriously want to find out this. Because where there is division, there is conflict. Right? The Arab, the Jew, the Russian, the communist and the socialist, the capitalist, the Mao and so on, so on. Where there is division, in oneself or externally, there is inevitably, logically, it's a law that there must be conflict. Now, the culture has created this. And we say, we're asking, why is the culture which we have created as human beings, what is the reason of this? What is behind it?
I feel it's the desire to gain security and fear of losing, fear of loss.
You are saying this division comes about because the cause of it is that man is seeking security. Is that, I'm not saying it is not so, is that so? Security in religion, security in belief, security in experience, security in knowledge, security in relationship, and the desire to be secure brings about this fragmentation. Is that so? Examine yourself, please. We'll go into that. First, one moment, sir. Let's take it slowly. We've got the whole morning. The mind is secure, seeking security. And therefore, it is suggested that the desire, the demand for security brings about this division. And from that, the question is asked, who is it that is seeking security? You understand? First of all, let's take security in a belief, right? Shall we go on with that? You are saying that the fragmentation of the mind is brought about through the demand of the mind to be secure. And it finds security in a belief, right? In God, or in something it calls God. Now, is that belief, is that God real? Or an invention of thought? It is the lady questioner says, is it we are fundamentally, deeply frightened? And therefore we are trying to find security in every direction. Right, madam? Yeah. Now, first you say security. Security in a belief. And there are other forms of security. Is that demand for security born out of fear of what? Of not knowing myself, of the unknown, of the uncertainty of life, of the future, this impermanency? And therefore, the mind seeks permanency in a belief. Huh?
Are you saying that every religious man is insane?
Come on.
You suggest that every religious man is insane?
He suggests that every religious man is insane.
Is every religious man insane? I think I'm dreadfully religious. Am I insane? I don't think so. But a religious man who believes in God is somewhat neurotic. Please, sir, you are not following this at all, if I may suggest. We are talking about the demand for security, and that security brings about fragmentation of our mind and life. And it is suggested by questioner that fear is the basis or the root of this desire to be secure. I don't know what's happened today. What's up? I know. We must send a petition to the government. No, please, sir, this is a serious thing. Do take it seriously. Then the problem is, if fear is the cause of this fragmentation, can that fear be completely wiped out? You follow? Completely wiped out, finished with, gone beyond. Please listen, that being afraid of uncertainty, being afraid to suffer, being afraid of this impermanency of life, being afraid of doing wrong things, that brings about the desire to find something secure. And I'm attached to that security. And being attached to that security brings about division, which is fragmentation. Right? That's so far is fairly clear. Then the next question is, can the mind be free of fear altogether? Not partially, not for a few days and then come back to it again, but completely be free of fear. Included all that.
Quand il s'agit d'une peur qui paralyse tous les corps, comment est-ce qu'on arrive à
Voilà,
se débarrasser?
c'est ça. How can one free oneself, débarrasser, how can one free oneself from the fear which paralyzes the physical body, the mind, everything? So we are discussing now, going into this question of fear, which someone raised earlier. Please give your attention, because this is very serious. If you want to go into it, since you have taken the trouble to come this morning, sit there, do give your serious attention to this. Now, can the mind be free of fear, which brings about fragmentation? Is not fear necessary for survival? As animals have that fear which makes them aggressive and therefore survive. So you are saying some kind, let's put it this way. fear of self-survival, fear of not being able to survive, brings about division. If I am living in the world, in the Arab world, and I am not an Arab, obviously physical survival becomes rather difficult. If I am living in a Catholic country and I am not a Catholic, that becomes rather difficult. If I am living in a Muslim, and so on, in a communist world, and so on. So, we have adjusted ourselves to the communist world, to the Maoist world, to any world as long as we can be secure. And that desire for security is based, we have said, that on fear. Now, can we survive without fear and yet be secure? You understand, sir? Be fear of fear, which means no fragmentation, and out of that, ending of that fear, another factor comes in, which in itself becomes security. I don't know if you follow this. Right? Now, can the mind be free of fear?
Maybe it can be fear.
What, sir?
Maybe the mind can be fear.
Huh?
Maybe if we cannot get free of fear, then maybe we can be fear.
Maybe the mind can be fear.
Maybe the mind itself is fear. We're going to find out. If the mind itself is fear, then who is it that says that he's afraid? You see, we're going to block ourselves all the time. We are not proceeding further. I'm asking a very simple but very complex question, whether the mind, your whole being, can be free of fear. That's right. We'll come to that in a minute, sir. To end fear, we must have total understanding of it. But we haven't got that total understanding. So we are examining, sir, to find out if there is a total understanding of fear, not a partial understanding. We are answering your first question. That is, can this fear be observed totally and not partially, right? So I've just, yeah, what, sir? Of course. Wait, how is it possible to examine fear totally when it has so many facets? Fear of death, fear of losing money, fear of public opinion, fear of not losing your religion, fear, so many ways of fear. Now, is there a central root of fear? And these are all facets, manifestations of that central root. You understand? Because it's like a tree having many branches, but there is only the trunk that makes all the branches. So, can we find out the central root of fear? And then, in the discovery of it, I see the totality of fear. You understand, sir? Now, can we look and find out for ourselves, not because somebody else says so, find out for ourselves what is the root of fear? Beg your pardon? We are.
By a personal reaction.
No. I am asking, please, I am asking myself, and therefore you are asking yourself, what is the central factor of fear? Yes, sir.
Thought, but it can be unconscious.
You are saying it's thought, it can be unconscious. Please find out. Don't merely express an opinion. Please, I am explaining something. Do listen. Sir. Don't explain, don't put an opinion, a judgment. But find out for yourself deeply inside what is the main root or main substance, main cause, main drive of fear. Conscious or unconscious. Give it a little minute, madam. Don't be so impatient. Look, I want to find out what it is. I must look. I can't just throw out words. I must look. I must say, wait, let me look. Let me be silent for a minute. Let me look inside to find out what is in me is the root of this fear. Is it not the separation of me from total life? When you say, is it not, that's an opinion. That's a judgment. I am asking something else.
Fear is a measure of our resistance to what is.
Fear is the denial of what is. That again is an opinion. You haven't found for yourself the root of fear. For God's, how often?
Perhaps that we shouldn't find out. That we shouldn't find out.
He says we are frightened to find out.
That we are frightened that we shouldn't find out.
Yes, we are frightened that we shouldn't. The same thing, sir. What is this fear? Have you ever asked this question? Yeah. Oh my God. Have you found out for yourself, madam, what is the cause of your fear? Is that the root of fear? Is me separating itself, and the separation causes fear.
There is the ego.
Ego is the cause of fear. You haven't, please, would you mind for 2 minutes? Huh? Because we think we are afraid. Would you mind for 2 minutes by the watch or more, just without offering words, putting into words, find out for yourself. Go into yourself if you can and find out without verbalizing what it is you are frightened of and what is the root of that fear. Madam, écoutez, I just said 2 minutes, madam. Have you found out? Yes? Huh? Come on. What's that? La mort. You are afraid of death. Is that the root of fear? Huh? Cecilia? Comment? Hein? For God's sake. It's a lovely morning, isn't it?
I don't know what happens when you spend 2 minutes thinking about the opinion. Only opinion. Only our opinions can,
So you haven't found out. Therefore, sir, you don't know what the root of fear is.
The attachment to myself, I think.
What?
The attachment to myself.
Wait. Attachment to yourself. Awareness of oneself. The consideration of oneself. You like to be afraid. Now, if you like to be afraid, keep it and don't talk about it. But if you want to investigate what is the root of fear, please, you haven't done it. You're just talking around it. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it to you, sir. You haven't even the patience to listen. I want my desires to be fulfilled. I want my demands satisfied. And because they do not, I get afraid. I get all the rest of it. I want to find out, because I'm a serious man, I want to find out why there are so many fears, conscious as well as unconscious. I have losing a job, public opinion, not being able to, being crippled physically, afraid of death, afraid of my wife or husband, afraid of life, afraid of so many, many things. Now I want to say I'm asking myself, why is there this fear? What is the central factor of it? right? Well, I am, please, un momento per favore. I am asking, madam, I am investigating myself, so please, I'm trying to show how to investigate. My mind says, I know I'm afraid. I'm afraid of water, darkness. I'm afraid of somebody. I'm afraid of having told a lie, being discovered. I want to be tall, beautiful, and I'm not, I'm afraid. I'm investigating. So I've got many, many, many fears. Just a minute. I know there are deep fears which I have not even looked at. There are superficial fears. Now, I want to find out the fears both that are hidden and open. I want to find out how they exist, how they come into being, what is the root of it. Just a minute. Now, how does one find out? I'm going step by step in it. How does one find out? I can only find out if the mind sees that to live in fear is not only neurotic, is very, very destructive. Right? Mind must see that first, that it is neurotic, and therefore neurotic activity will go on, destructive, and a mind that is frightened is never honest. A mind that is frightened will invent any experience, anything to hold on to. So I must first see the necessity, clearly, wholly, that as long as there is fear, there must be misery. Right? Now, do you see that? Huh? That's the first requisite. That is the first truth. That as long as there is fear, there is darkness. And whatever I do in that darkness is still darkness. Right? Is still confusion. Do I see that very clearly? Wholly, not partially. There is no acceptance, sir. What? Accepting it is like I live in darkness? All right, accept it and live it. Wherever you go, you are carrying the darkness. So live in the darkness. Now be satisfied with it. Don't then inquire. A higher state of darkness? You see again this contradiction from darkness to light, which is a contradiction. So, sir, please, I am trying to investigate, and you are trying to prevent it, showing it to you. What, sir? I said to you, it is not analysis. Please, sir, do listen what the poor chap has to say. He says, I know, I am aware, I am conscious that I've got many fears, hidden and superficial, physical and other, psychological. And I know also, as long as I live within that area, there must be confusion. And do what I will, I cannot clear up that confusion till there is freedom from fear, right? That's obvious. Now, that is very clear to me. Then I say to myself, I see the truth that as long as there is fear, I must live in darkness. I may call it light, I'll go beyond it, but I still carry on that fear. Now, next step is not analysis, observation only. Is the mind capable of examining? Do you understand? Wait, I'm slow. Is my mind capable of examination? Observation. Let's stick to observation better than examination. Examination has a different meaning, observation has another meaning. Is my mind capable realizing that that as long as fear exists, there must be darkness, and is my mind capable of observing what that fear is and the depth of that fear? Observing. Now, wait a minute. What does it mean to observe? Right? Can I observe the whole movement of fear or only partial? You understand my question? Can the mind observe the whole nature, structure, and the function and the movement of fear? The whole of it, not just bits of it. I mean by the whole, not wanting to go beyond fear, but then I have a direction, I have a motive. Therefore, where there is a motive, there is a direction, I cannot possibly see the whole. Right? Right? And I cannot possibly see the whole, observe, if there is any kind of desire to go beyond rational. Can I observe without any movement of thought? Do listen to this. If I observe fear through the movement of thought, then it is partial, it is obscured, it is not clear. So, can I observe this fear, all of it, without the movement of thought? Don't jump at anything. We are just observing, we are not analyzing, but just observing this extraordinary, complicated map of fear. When you look at the map of fear, if you have any direction, you're only looking at it partially. Right? That's clear. When you want to go beyond fear, you're not looking at the map. So, can you look at the map of fear without any movement of thought? Don't take time. That means, can thought end when I'm observing? When the mind is observing, can thought be silent? Then you will ask me, how is thought to be silent? Right? That's a wrong question. My concern now is to observe, and that observation is prevented when there is any movement or flutter of thought, any wave of thought. So my attention, please listen to this, my attention is given totally to the map. And therefore thought doesn't enter into it. When I am looking at you completely, nothing outside exists. You understand? So, can I look at this map of fear without the wave of thought?
Je m'aperçois que chaque fois que la peur surgit, c'est l'expression de ma pensée spontanée.
Si.
Je n'ai pas peur de la peur, je reste. Mais je vois que cette spontanéité arrête.
Each time there is the surgence of fear, I realize spontaneity ceases. And so he's asking the same thing in different words. Is thought the reason of fear? Vous avez compris? You understand? I want to look at the map of fear. And thought is always interfering with it. I'm afraid not to look. I like being afraid. I like having a neurotic activity, and so on, so on, so on. So thought is always precipitating itself, percolating when I'm observing. Right? So I say to myself, can thought stop? And if it stops, what takes place? You understand? So my question is, can it stop? Not what takes place afterwards, but can it stop? Voluntarily, without conflict. If there is a conflict, again, same problem. So can thought come to an end? Have you followed this so far? Are you doing it? Huh? Comment, madame? No, does your thought come to an end? Not what happens afterwards. You're also...
So you're asking us to look to see whether thought comes to an end. It would seem that when we look to see if thought has come to an end, you're looking with direction.
No, sir. No, do listen, sir. I want to look at this map of fear. The whole of it. Not just one end of it, or one part of it, or one branch of it. I want to look at this whole phenomenon of fear which you have kindly exposed to me. And I somehow can't observe. I can't keep my eyes totally on it. Because something is distracting all the time. The distraction is the movement of thought, or the sensation of that noise, or somebody on the telephone. So I am saying to look at that, the whole width of that map of fear, the depth and the width and the height of that fear, thought must be in abeyance, right? Because thought is dividing. It says to me, look there, don't look there, right? This is good, this is bad, this is the way out of it. So thought is always interfering. So I say to myself, can thought quietly go to sleep for the time being? And it can't. Wait, I'm going into it can't. It is so vibrant. It's so chattering. It's so alive. Right? So what is the mind to do? Knowing, please listen, knowing that thought interferes in the total perception. Right? And inevitably, I must understand, observe the total movement of thought, right? Not fear, right? But the total content of thought. You follow, sir, what has happened? I started out by asking, why am I afraid of death, of public opinion, of this, the attachment? Why am so many fears the mind is caught in? And I am observing that, this whole field of fear. And that is, the observation is prevented by thought, by the movement of thought. So my attention is given to the understanding of thought, right? Not of fear, right? Are you moving with? Now, I want to find out what is thought. Why does thought interfere in everything I do? Sexually, morally, religiously, every movement is there of thought. Why? Is it that the culture, religion, all the activities and education says thought is the most important thing? Right? All the books, encyclopedic knowledge, everything seems to have its root in thought. Right? When I say I love you, the very expression of that word, the expression itself has its root in thought. Right? Not the feeling, not the factor of love, but the expression of it. The verbalization of that fact is the movement of thought. Right? My gods, my desire to be noble, my desire to have great success, my ambitions, all are based on this thought. I am devoted to you because you are my God, you are my guru, you are my savior, you are my blasted companion, whatever it is. Thought. And this thought has been the current in every market of life. right? From the Greeks, Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, and the present culture. Thought, right? Right? And my brain, the area of my brain is the content of that thought. So I say to myself, all right, that is a fact. Learning a language, all the rest of it. Now, what is thought? What is thought? The direction of thought, you follow? What is thought? Moving to create, to destroy. What is this thing called thought? And can the mind be without thought? And what happens if it is without thought? We have seen examples, doctors and others, when there is no thought, the mind becomes vegetable, right? Amnesia, doesn't know a thing. Now what am I to do? You understand my question now? Thought prevents the understanding of the whole of fear, and therefore there must be an understanding of thought, its structure, its nature, its activity, its limitations, its binding quality, and so on. So what is thought? Why has man given such tremendous importance to thought? In India, for example, they have given importance to thought by saying life can be divided into many temperaments: the devotional, the active mind, the devotional mind, the active mind, the silent mind, the mind that requires knowledge, which are called 4 yogas and all kinds of things, 4 philosophies. So again, the division, you follow? The Greeks, not that I'm a specialist in Greeks, I've observed. I don't read history, and therefore I've just observed. Greeks, the ancient Greeks, said thought is necessary because thought is measure. Without measurement, you can't do anything. You can't build a Parthenon. You can't create a face without measurement. All their philosophy, the democracy and so on, is based on measurement. To measure. And the Hindus said, on the other side, said to measure is illusion. They have a special word called ma. Ma means to measure. Maya means illusion. So, India said, where there is measurement, please listen to this, very interesting. Where there is measurement, mind must create illusion. And the West, from Greece, said, measurement is necessary. And on that, all our Western world is founded. Technology, everything is the movement of measurement. Right? I don't accept this you can observe it as a fact. It's not my opinion. I have no opinion. I have no opinions, thank God. So there it is. So what is thought? Why has all our actions based on thought? Love has become part of thought. You follow? I love you. I am attached to you. I love you. I want to sleep with you. Pleasure. And the measurement of pleasure is thought. Right? Measurement of pleasure. So, where there is measurement, there is time. Right? I will have that pleasure tomorrow, which is time. That tomorrow is the measure of thought. Are you following all this? Does it interest you? For God's sake, this is your life.
Quindi possiamo dire che il pensiero è l'unica nostra difesa per la più grande paura che è l'impermanenza di noi stessi.
Giusto. Need I translate that? Somebody do it, please.
I can translate myself, but it's very difficult.
All right, sir, I'll do it for you. Don't make it difficult. Be simple about it. The fear is the impermanency of our souls. And the attachment, I'm translating it generally, the attachment then becomes the cause of fear.
The root of fear.
Yeah, is the movement. Yes. Now, just a minute, sir. You see how my investigation is going on. I see around me, in India, in Europe, and in Asia, America, the movement of thought. The movement of thought in relationship, the movement of thought in religion. All the inventions of their gods are the product of thought. And all the philosophies are based on thought. The philosophy of devotion, the philosophy of knowledge, the philosophy of action, and so on. Everything around me is based on thought. Thought being measure, and therefore time. Right? And we call progress is the measurement of time. Right? The growth of national product and everything. So, what is wrong with thought? You understand? The Asiatics, and especially India exploded over Asia. As Greece exploded over Europe, India exploded much more vastly over the whole of Asia. There they said, thought is measure. And to find the immeasurable, which is not measurable, thought must end. Right? Because they said to live in thought is to live in prison. And prison is a measurement. See the beauty of you follow, I'm thinking it aloud for you. They don't say all this. I'm saying. To live in prison is the measurement. And to be free of that measurement is to come upon that which is Brahman, which is immeasurable. Right? Therefore, they said control thought. Suppress thought. Thought is brought about through sensation, the senses. Therefore, don't look. Don't go near a woman. Don't touch, don't look, don't see anything. But close your eyes, suppress thought, and work at it. And the Western world has said thought is absolutely necessary. There is no immeasurable. You can invent the immeasurable. All your gods are inventions. The serious investigators, they're all just your emotional reactions. The wish for your father as the Christians, they won't even accept all that. So thought has become the foundation, right? So what am I to do? I'm investigating with you. I hope you're sharing. They're not just going off to sleep and polishing your nails. Moment I say, mind says, thought must end, who is it that says it? You following this? I see, in observation, thought is interfering. Therefore, there is an assertive action taking place, which is thought shall end. You follow this? Why do you come to that conclusion? Because it interferes with your observation. Therefore, there is a motive for your desire to observe. And that motive is measure. I don't know if you follow me. Therefore, that motive is time. I wonder if you see the subtleness of it. So is your observation without a single motive? It is not, because thought says, I want to go beyond it. And thought has a cause. The cause being the desire to go beyond it. Therefore, it is immeasurable. And therefore, you're still caught in thought. So what is mind to do? It's not interested in observation at all. Or observation of fear. Now it has turned its attention to the inquiry into the whole movement, structure, nature, function of thought. Not that it wants to stop it. Not that it wants to control it. Just to observe. Right? Why has man, right through the ages, given importance to thought? Go a little deeper than that. So we'll go into all that. All cultures, ancient, those cultures that have disappeared, all cultures have given importance to thought. Why? Find the answer, sir. Don't give it up.
It is the only instrument we have to live.
It is the only, it's the only instrument that we have. Is that so? You people don't know how to investigate. You all say, everyone says, including you, Thought is the only instrument we have. And we abide by that. Right? Which is our tradition. Of course. So see what has happened. We say that's the only instrument. And this has been handed down to us, generation after generation, right? And I say, yes, that's the only instrument I have. Why do you limit the instruments that you have to only one thing? You understand my question? Why haven't you, aren't there other instruments? So I'm asking, is there an instrument other than thought? Huh? He wants to know the answer quickly. So the answer quickly is to observe without the movement of thought. Observe yourself, your wife, the world, everything about you, nature, the clouds, the beauty of a hill, the flowing waters and the bird on wing, everything observe, and including your own desires, without a single movement of thought. That's the final answer. Parliamo.
Can I explain our difficulty?
Molto bene, avanti, avanti, avanti. Sì, avanti, signore.
It's like we are against the door, a closed door. The key to open this door is the other instrument, that is the observation without the waves of thought. But this key is at the other side of the door. So it's half a century that I have seated on this door to be open, but the key is at the other side.
Bene. I'm locked inside a room, and the key is on the other side of the door. And you are asking me to open the door, which is an impossibility. That's a good simile, but not real. By stating that you have the keys on the other side, you have already blocked yourself. Bene? I have no key, I have no door, I have only one problem. Je n'ai pas compris tout à fait. Wait. The gentleman wants to know, I've talked for 50 years, is it merely an intellectual philosophy or is it something that's real? You know, the meaning of the word philosophy means the love of truth. Right, sir? The love of life, not the inventions which intellect creates. That has nothing to do with reality. So I'm not giving you a philosophy.
But they all want change.
Wait.
You're listening, you want
I'm,
work or not, yes or no?
they all want change. You all want change.
That's the reply, all change.
Sir, go patient. You all want change. Change to what?
To be a little freer.
To be a little freer. I'm not interested in being little freer. Sir, you don't understand. Sorry. You haven't taken the time or the trouble to read or to find out what the speaker has.
All your books, and they're all repeating the one single thing. And I know it very well.
Then, sir, you know it by the mind. But you don't. We're talking. You are talking of living, not speculating, not talking about it. Well, sir, we have come to the point when we say that we have only one instrument, the intellect, which is thought. And I'm asking, why do we limit ourselves to one instrument? Is it that we are caught in habit, in tradition, in accepting there is only one instrument? Of course. So, please, all this involves change in life, in our action, in our daily life, not in your speculative philosophy, in your gods. That has nothing to do with it. What we are talking about is your daily life. If your daily life is based on thought, then you are going to create such havoc in the world, which you have. And any change that thought brings about is still within the same area. Whether it's communist, socialist, Catholic, or any other religion, it is still within the same area of confusion. So you have got to find out. If you want to radically change, and to go into that, you have to say, why does thought in your life play such tremendous importance? Come on. I haven't heard, sir. I can't. It's not clear what you're saying up here. Tremendous urge to find out about life. Tremendous urge to find out about life, which is thought. Your life is based on thought. All your activities based on thought. Your wife, your relationship is based on thought. I'm doing that, madam. We are doing that. Come on. Yes, yes. the lady says, we refuse to consider ourselves as a whole. We are coming back to the same question. How do you consider yourself as a whole when you are looking at life partially? My country, my God, my desires, my ambitions, all the rest of it. How can you see the whole? Sir, as the gentleman pointed out, the speaker has talked for 50 years. And as he says, have the speech produced one single human being apart from yourself who is really free? You understand? I am not interested if after 50 years I have produced one single human being who is free. You understand? I am not interested. If you are interested, take it. If you are not interested, don't take it. Right? This is not propaganda. This is not something to convince you. If you are willing to listen, if you are willing to pay attention, if you say, look, I want to understand what you're talking, I want to understand myself, I want to change totally myself, then give care, attention, affection. But if you're not, well, it doesn't matter. There are plenty of shrines which are delusions, you can go to them.
You left off with observation without thought.
Yeah.
And when a new thought comes up,
There is no new thought.
so it is a constant process.
First, sir, no. Is there a new thought? Or thought is always old? A thought can never be free. It may come up as new, but it's still thought. So I'm left with this. Thought is my life. Thought is my action. Thought is my relationship. Thought is my God. Thought is the thing that man has put together for thousands of years as devotion, as guru, as this, 10 different things. And I see thought divides, right? My country, your country, my belief and your belief, my God and your God, my ideals and your so on, so on, so on. Thought divides, right? Are you following all this? True, is it, or real to you? Thought divides. So thought is not love. Right? So how can the mind, which has been put together through centuries in the structure of thought, follow this please, how can that mind which is the result of thought, which is whose essence is thought, how can that mind change radically? Right? So, to change radically, thought must be understood. Otherwise, there is no escape. Can you understand your thought? Your thought, not my thought. If you understand your thought, then it is a thought of everybody. Right? Sir, look, I know what you are saying is so, but to answer that question, you also have to got what we are trying to do is to see why this constant change goes on, movement, right? You've got to find the basis for all this, haven't you? Not intellectual, but actually in your life. See, sir, our difficulty is to sustain a continuous, sane, logical investigation. We haven't got the vitality or the energy or the urgency of it. We are playing. Now, thought is the basis of our action and our life. Thought has produced such mischief, and also it has produced great architecture, great painting, but it's still thought. Right? And thought also brought wars. Thought has destroyed millions of people. Right? Christianity probably has destroyed more human beings than any other religion in the world. Right? Swallow that pill. So thought has done all this. And so thought cannot bring change. It can go from one corner of the field to another corner, but it is still within the same field. Right? Communism, socialism. You understand? The change within that area of thought is the same with modifications. Right? That is so sad. I mean, there is no point in hesitating about this. Right? So, thought is not the instrument of change. If I realize that, I have got to find another instrument. It is my responsibility, it's my duty, it's my tremendous necessity to find another instrument. Because I am concerned with the world, which is myself. To bring a change in the world, I must find out an instrument or find out something which is not based on thought, because thought will not solve all our miseries. Right, sir? I don't know. Don't accept this. You can look at it. So look, sir, you haven't even accepted, you haven't even seen that thought is destructive. Thought cannot bring about change. You put another question. Look, sir, please look. Look what has happened. In your Christian world, how many divisions of Christians there are? In your Christian world, how many wars you have had? In your Christian world, the division among people, class, quarrel, divisions, fight. That's what your life is. And that's all the result of your thought. And you're using thought to bring a change. And I say, that is impossible. Don't do it. So you have to find a way which is not the way of thought. Right? But to find the way which is not the way of thought, you have to understand the whole business of thought. Not say, well, I must look in other directions. Because if you say, if you are still caught in the field of thought, then you can't look in the other direction. So you must understand what thought is. Right? So if I understand how to run a car, there's no problem. But because we don't understand the nature of thought, we go on employing it. Right? So we're going to find out. There are two questions involved in this. What is thought, what is thinking? And the necessity of thinking. Right? The necessity. Because the very words you use and the expression is thought. So, thought has its place, which is in the operational field, in the functional field. That is, speaking a language, driving a car, the business world, the technological world, which is all based on knowledge, experience, memory, thought. There, thought must live, must operate. And I'm asking, has it any other place except in that area only? Right? You're following this? Follow it in yourself, not by my don't follow the description, follow this, the described. That is, I see thought is necessary to write, to speak, to communicate. There are other forms of communication, but thought is necessary. Thought being knowledge, experience, accumulated memory. That is necessary. Otherwise you can't go to your home, otherwise you can't travel, otherwise you can't speak, and so on. And when there is observation, why does thought move into that field? You understand? You've understood? I want to observe the beauty of those hills and the beauty of light and shade and the depth of shadows and the movement of leaves. But thought comes and says, that is a lovely hill. Oh, I don't like this. I like that. That is a bird. You follow? Why does thought do all this? Now, is my mind concerned with the cause? Please listen to this. Is my mind concerned to discover the cause of thought and its activity? You understand my question? When I say, why does my thought do this, keep interfering, I have put that question to find a cause, haven't I? Right, sir? So cause and effect, right? Are you following this? Fairly simple, isn't it? Cause. All right, I'll show it to you. I've said, why does thought do all this? Interfere, push itself in. When I put that question, I am saying, I'm looking for the cause, am I not? So, there is a motive in looking for the cause. Right? You follow this? So what have I done? When I look to the cause, a motive, it is still the operation of thought. So I'm not looking, I'm only investigating the cause. So the cause becomes the time. So I see that. Therefore, I won't ask that question. You understand, sir? Are you following this? I won't ask the question, why does the thought do this? Because the moment I put that question, I am investigating the cause which is within the field of time. I wonder if you understand this. Look, if I say, I love you, and I say to myself, why do I love you? What have I done? I don't love you, do I? Huh? You understand, sir? When I say, why do I love you, I have brought in an intellectual process which says there must be a cause. And where there is a cause, there is no love, is there? Huh? What's the matter with you? So when I put the question, why does thought interfere, weave itself into observation, I am really putting a wrong question. I want the cause, and I want to destroy the cause. You follow? And therefore I am caught again in the process of thought. So, see what I have done. I want to observe the map of fear, and thought interferes with it. And I say, I must find the cause. I'm still within the same area. I haven't moved away from it. Right? So I play this game with myself all the time. And I'm thinking, I'm changing. Whereas, put the question and not seek a cause. Just put it and don't look for it. Then you will see the whole thing unfolds itself without your asking why. You understand? When you put the why and you find the cause, that's the direction. Right? Where there is direction, there is time, there is will, and therefore you're back again in the movement of thought. But if you say, yes, why is thought doing this? Just observe it. Not saying, what is the reason for all this? Just observe. So don't you ever do this when you love? Do you say, why am I loving you? Why am I talking for 50 years? When I say, my God, why am I doing this? Then I'll find a cause, but it's not the real thing. So can we, now look at what we have done. I must stop because it's time. See what we have done. We have said all our culture, past and present, is based on thought. And thought has divided the world. Thought is the principal activity in life as we know it. Life being you and me. In that life, it has created fragments. I'm a Hindu, you're a Christian, all the rest of it. And can I observe this whole phenomenon? Can the mind observe this whole phenomenon of thought without another thought? You understand? You have understood, sir?
Without what? Without
a cause, without another cause, another thought. Because if you have another thought, it's still the same thing. You understand what we have done this morning? Do look at the structure of it, sir. The beauty of this thing, how it works itself out. We have put several questions this morning. Wanting to see the whole, war, education, thought, feeling, all that, what we have talked about. We said we'll take one question, which is seeing the whole. To see the whole, there must be no part. And there is a part as long as thought interferes, right? Seeing the whole means there must be no attachment, no root, right? No cause. If there is a cause, you can't see anything. If I say I love you because I have a cause, which is I want your money or your body, it's not love, right? So, we see that thought divides. Thought brings conflict. And all our work is that. Just don't do anything but just look. Don't see it's partial look, it's whole look. Just look at this whole phenomenon of war, education, not seeing the whole, fear, security, and always the mind searching for the cause. As though finding the cause, you think you'll be out of it. Look, sir, you have had, man has had in written history 5,000 wars within the last, I don't know how many years. That means 2.5 wars every year in history. We know the cause. Man's greed, man's desire for power, man's desire for economic position, man's desire to dominate the world, and so on. We know the cause, but yet we are still going on with it, right? So the discovery of the cause doesn't eradicate. What brings eradication is to observe this extraordinary phenomenon. Just to observe. And if you can do that, then you are completely beyond it. And I've shown, the speaker has shown how to observe all this morning. So we meet again tomorrow morning.